Hello everyone! Hello YouTube! Welcome once again to Sir Romsky channel, ang inyong maestro sa kahanginan. In today's video, I'm going to show you how or where you can download a Linux installer and how you can install this into your VirtualBox machine. And if you haven't installed VirtualBox yet in your Windows operating system, I suggest that you pause this video and go check out my other video on how to install VirtualBox in Windows 10. And you follow those steps, and after installing VirtualBox in your Windows 10, then you proceed to this video, come back to this video, and follow the steps on how to install the Linux operating system in your VirtualBox. So there are many available Linux distributions out there, but I prefer to use Ubuntu because I've been using Ubuntu for quite a long time now. So Ubuntu has a desktop installer, Ubuntu Desktop, where you have a full graphical user interface, just like the Windows, and it also has the server installer, Ubuntu Server Installer. And in the Ubuntu Server Installer, you don't have the graphical user interface. All you have is the command line. So since you already have the fancy graphical user interface of Windows, in today's video we are going to download the Ubuntu Server Installer, and that is what we are going to install into our VirtualBox virtual machine. So to download the installer of Ubuntu Linux, you go to download this link. Okay, and then so as what I have said, you have an Ubuntu Desktop, you have an Ubuntu Server, you even have Ubuntu for IoT and Ubuntu for Cloud. So let's focus on the server. Then you click Get Ubuntu Server. By the way, you have a lot of Linux distros available out there. You have Ubuntu, you have CentOS or CentOS. You also have Linux Mint, you also have Fedora, and you also have Debian, and a lot more. So in this video we just focus on Ubuntu because Ubuntu is widely used by the Linux community, but there are also other Linux distributions out there that are similarly popular with Ubuntu. So here in the download link, we have Get Ubuntu Server. Option number 1, install Ubuntu VMs. And then option number 2, we have manual server installation. This is what we are going to do right now. Manual server installation. So you click this one, and then after clicking that one, you click this button, download Ubuntu Server 22.04 LTS. LTS meaning long-term support. So this was released, I think, this year only, 2022, and it will have around extended security maintenance until 2032. So that's a long time. And the OS security guaranteed until April 2027. That is around 5 years. Okay, so that's the meaning of LTS. There are also other versions that doesn't have long-term support. We are going to download this LTS version of the Ubuntu server. Again, Ubuntu server doesn't have the fancy graphical user interface. It only has the command line interface, and that is what we're going to use to familiarize ourselves on how to use the Linux command line. What are the commands of Linux, what are the different Linux commands, and how you're going to use them, and how you're going to install softwares into your Ubuntu server. So now it is downloading, but I already have, it's around 1.4 gigabytes. I already have downloaded this, so I will just stop this downloading. Okay, so that's where you download the Ubuntu server, and once you download it, it will go to your download folder, and after downloading it, you run the Oracle VM VirtualBox software. Okay, so in my previous video, I have discussed how to install this software, but we haven't used this software yet. So now, I don't have any virtual machines created yet in my VirtualBox software or VirtualBox manager. You can actually create several, more than one virtual machines in your VirtualBox, and you can install different OS in this VirtualBox. You can install Linux, you can install Windows, you can install Solaris or FreeBSD, whatever you want to install there in your VMs that are created here in the VirtualBox. So how to create a virtual machine in our VirtualBox? There's an icon here, new, or you can go here in the machine and new. Okay, if you already have an existing VirtualBox image, you can click add, but we don't have an image, we have an installer, so you click new, and then we name our virtual machine. Let's create a virtual machine, no? And let's name it Ubuntu, what's version 22.04, and it will be installed here in this machine folder. I'm not going to change it. Drive C, okay. And what type of operating system are we going to install in this virtual machine? You can choose either Windows, Linux, Solaris, BSD, IBM OS, Mac OS, and others. So we are going to install Ubuntu Linux, so choose Linux. What version of Linux? So there are many distributions. Ubuntu, there's Oracle, Red Hat, OpenSUSE, SUSE, Turbo Linux, Ubuntu 32-bit, Ubuntu 64-bit. So let's choose Ubuntu 64-bit. And then for the memory size, we're going to provision a memory for this virtual machine. So I have a total of 12 gigabytes of memory in my physical machine, actual machine. So I think I can provide up to 2 gig of memory. No, that's around 3 gig. Of memory. Okay, so around 3 gig of memory for this virtual machine, and then create a virtual hard disk now. Yeah, we're going to create a virtual hard disk, and this virtual hard disk will take up space from your actual hard disk. Okay, so let's click create, and this virtual machine will be saved in this file, Ubuntu 22.04.vdi, because that's the file type that we're choosing, the VirtualBox disk image. If you want this virtual machine to be this image that will be created by this virtual machine to be compatible with Microsoft virtual machine, you use VHD. If you want the image to be compatible with VMware virtual machine, you use VMDK. But since we are using VirtualBox, we don't need to use other file type of the image. We use VDI. And then for the storage, by the way, the file size of the storage, we have 10 gig. I'm just going to shorten it to maybe 5 gig, around 5 gig. And then a little more, 3 gig. Oh no, 3 gig is so small. 5.10 gig. Okay, that's enough.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
And then storage on physical hard disk, you make sure you have to choose dynamically allocated, or else if you choose fixed size, automatically this image will be of 5.10 gig right away, even if it's not fully used. If you install Linux, it doesn't it doesn't occupy right away the 5 gig. So when you install software, additional softwares in it, additional applications in it, that's the time that the file size will grow. So we'll just use dynamically allocated. Then create. So after we created the virtual machine, we already have this VM. This is called the virtual machine, Ubuntu virtual machine, because we set it to Linux Ubuntu 64-bit. Then let's check the properties in the settings. Okay, we can click the settings, or we can scroll down here. I want to click the settings. General settings. So this is Ubuntu. Okay, description, disk encryption. No disk encryption. Our memory, we can still adjust our memory here. 3 gig. And then processor, you can increase the number of processors. I have 8, so let me give 2. And then acceleration, just default. Display, just the default display. Storage, later we'll touch this. This is the VDI image. This is the virtual optical drive. And then the audio network, here in the network, it's network address translation, and this one is enabled. Adapter 1, adapter 2 is disabled. So we only have enabled one network interface. You can enable 2, 3, or 4. So in our case here, let's just enable 1. You can choose not network address translation, wherein the VirtualBox will be the one to give our VM an IP address using network address translation. If I'm going to set it to bridge adapter, this network adapter will get an IP address coming from our DHCP server in our local area network. In our case, in my case here, from my router, which also acts as a DHCP server. I prefer using this one, bridge adapter. And serial, USB, nothing. Let's go back to storage. Now in the storage, there's an empty. There are no CD drive or DVD drive being inserted. Let's check. Let's put here our installer, the ISO which you have downloaded from the Ubuntu website. Okay, in my case here, I placed it in documents, installers here. So this is the ISO which I have downloaded from the Ubuntu website. Maybe in your case it's in downloads folder. Me, I place it here because I downloaded it already beforehand. And you click this installer and then click open, and then after that you click the live CD. Okay, so it now appear here, ISO. Then you check the live CD and then click OK. Then after that, we're ready to go. Just click the start icon. So our VM is now turned on. It's just like turning on your physical machine. And once you turn on your physical machine, it will read the optical disc that you inserted, the DVD or the CD. So just like that. So once the VM is turned on, it will read the ISO file which we inserted in the virtual CD drive. So it now loads the GNU Grab bootloader. So you can try to install Ubuntu Server, install Ubuntu Server, and then or test the memory. This is what we are going to do: install the Ubuntu Server. Press enter in this. Now it is starting to install, to start up the installer of the Ubuntu 22.04 server. Okay, so let's wait for a while it's starting. And then it will prompt us a message to do something. Okay, that's what we're waiting for here. We're waiting for it to prompt us a message. It will try to detect our screen, it will try to detect our keyboards, the language we are going to use, and so on and so forth. Okay, so welcome. We are now asked to choose a language for our installation. Of course, we choose English. Are we going to update to the new installer? No, we'll just continue without updating. How about the keyboard layout? It detected the keyboard layout as English US and variant English US. You can change that if you're using another layout. For us, it's done. Either you can just move arrow up and arrow down and then press enter. If you want to go back, arrow down. Want to done, go to done. You are select done and then press enter. And then choose the base for the installation. Ubuntu server or the minimal version of the Ubuntu server. I'd like to choose the minimal server. It's gonna be the minimum, just the bare minimum files that is needed just to run an Ubuntu server. But in our case here, so that we can explore a lot of things, let's choose the full Ubuntu server setup. Okay, so choose done and then press enter. And then it's trying to detect our virtual network interface. And we have acquired an IP address coming from our DHCP server, and it is 192.168.43. 55/24. Press done. Do we have a proxy? No, we don't have any proxy server. And then for the Ubuntu mirror server, let's use the default. Press done. Are we going to use the entire disk? Yes, we're going to use the entire 5 gig of hard disk that we allocated. And then I just press arrow up and arrow down. Okay. And then set up this disk as a VM. Yeah. Encrypt. No. Custom storage layout. No. Just press done and choose done and then press enter. So now in the file system, it is going to create 2 partitions. Mount point for the partitions. The root partition is just the slash, this one. That's the first partition, and it's going to allocate around 3.3 gig, 3.4 gig of file size.
What?
And the boot partition, it's where the system files for booting up our Linux server. That's where the important system files for our Linux will be placed in the boot partition /boot partition. So we will not change that one. Let's use the default, and then let's go to done. Press enter. And then, are you sure you want to continue? Yes, let's continue. Press enter, and then for our user profile, I'm going to type here my name, Ubuntu 2204 S, and then pick a username, a password, confirm the password, and then go to done. Are we going to install an SSH server? SSH meaning secure shell server. This is important because this is the server where we are going to connect, allow us to connect remotely to our server.
Oh my God! Wow!
If you want to connect to your server remotely, you don't have to open up the VM and use your Ubuntu server. Then we are going to install an SSH server. Okay. So this will allow us, once again, this will allow us to connect to our server remotely. And then press done. Here, just press tab to go to done right away. By the way, if you want to choose something you want to install, just press spacebar. You want to install this, spacebar. But I don't want to install this, just the default. Just press tab, go to the done right away, and press enter. Now it's installing the Ubuntu server into our virtual machine. And we are going to wait for this to finish. It's gonna take several minutes depending on the speed of your laptop or PC. So maybe I'm gonna pause this video for a while and I'll come back once this installation procedure is done. Okay. As I was watching from afar, I thought that the installation is still not complete, but as you can see here in the message above, install is complete already. Let's check why this cursor is still it's downloading and installing security updates. Okay, so let's wait for oh, it's done just in time. So now that it's done, completely done, let's click the window. By the way, you can press the right control to move your mouse around your window. If you want to go to the installation window, just click it there, although the mouse is gone, but you know it's there. Just press down. The control is handed over to the VM window. So you full log or reboot now. Let's check. Let's choose reboot now. Then it will reboot our virtual machine. It's trying to unmount. You see the failed message there. It was trying to unmount. It's trying to unmount the ISO so that the next time it will boot from the Ubuntu server and not from the installer. So just press enter. And now our VM is restarting. Let's wait and wait and wait. Yep, I think it was able to unmount the ISO. So now we are prompted with the login prompt. Ubuntu 2204S login prompt. And there are other messages popping up. Let's wait for it to be done. It's initializing an SSH keys. Okay. So I think it's done. Just press enter again. Now the login prompt is appeared once again. So what was the username I created? That's Rumsky. That's the login name or the username we entered during the installation, right? And then the password I provided. This is the password that you provide during the installation. After pressing the password, just press enter. And now we're in our Ubuntu server. So we are now in our Ubuntu server. Now that we're in our Ubuntu server, what are we going to do? Shutdown. To shut down our Ubuntu server, you type sudo and then shutdown -h and then now we'll shut it down now. Press enter and then it's asking for the password. What was our password? It's shutting down. Okay, how to run it again? You can right click and go to start, or click this one and then click this icon start. And your VM is turned on again. And your Ubuntu server will boot up again. Oh, hey. It went into our installer. Okay, let's shut it down. Go to machine and then ACPI shutdown. Or you can close this right away. Close this power off the machine. Okay. Okay, so don't forget to do this next time. Don't forget. Serumski, don't forget to remove this next time, okay? Or else you can go to settings, Serumski,
Oh my
and then go
god!
to storage here, and then click this Ubuntu server, and then remove disk from virtual drive. After removing this from the virtual drive, by the way, you can also do it here. You can also do it here. Storage, and then you there. Wait. Storage, and then you click this one, and you can also remove it from here. Now our optical drive is empty. Okay, so don't forget to remove the installer, or it will boot up again from the installer. So start your virtual machine. Now it is booting up from the actual Ubuntu server that we have just installed. Just wait for it. Wait for it. It's starting up. Wait for it. Okay, just wait for it. Now you have the Ubuntu login prompt. Just press enter again. Type your username and then type your password. Press enter, and we're in. So I will not shut down right away this time. Let's check. Uname. This is the command uname -a. So we are running on Linux Ubuntu 22.04. That's the name we assigned to our server. 5.15.0 for generic. Okay, right. So we are running Ubuntu, and that's it. In our next video, I'm going to discuss basic Linux commands. We will explore the basic Linux commands to use our Linux server. We will then install other services into our server. Probably we'll use it as web server. We'll install a web server in our Ubuntu server, and probably we can install DHCP server, or we can install other services like a DNS server. So we can use this server into different kinds. We can run multiple services here in our server and use it as web server, DHCP server, DNS server, and so on. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed in our video today about installing Ubuntu Server Linux in VirtualBox. If you haven't subscribed yet in my channel, don't forget to click the subscribe button and click the like button, as well as the notification bell, so that you'll get notified when I upload new videos. That's it for now, and I hope you enjoy and have a wonderful day.